Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to another episode of the Chocolate Sheikh. All right, today I wanted to just drop a quick, short message to brothers and sisters out there who might be a little younger than ourselves. Again, we're playing the part of the OG, and I'm trying to help us get through this political climate. Just wanted to say a word about this because I have 2 reports in a day of friends of mine who are not even speaking to one another because of what's going on with the politics. This back and forth now between Donald Trump and the Republican Party, and now Kamala Harris and the Democratic Party. I literally have 2 sets of friends who are now not speaking. I'd like to first say that Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa alihi, that is our master prophet Muhammad, on him be peace, taught the Muslim community that we should avoid disputation. At all costs, avoid disputations. If you know that your particular partner, your wife, your friend, a colleague, if they take a position and you already know that that position is not your position, then our Prophet Muhammad, on him be peace, said, don't even argue about it. You should allow that person to have their opinion. Give them their ability to have their opinion. Allow it and accept it. And they too should allow you to have your opinion. They should accept the fact that you may be on the opposite side of the issue. And it's okay. Nothing wrong with that. Unless somebody's life is threatened, or there's something that's going to happen where a person's getting ready to, put a hole in the bottom of the boat and sink the whole nation, or somebody's going to do something that's going to be so horrific that they're going to, hurt you, your body, your limb, then the prophet said, then you have to leave that be. And I don't believe that either one of these persons are going to absolutely do that, right? Even Trump, he was already president, and we saw what he did, and we saw what he can do. We saw what he did not do. So he's not a person that's trying to sink his country. I believe that he's actually honest about what it is he's trying to do. For those of us who maybe left the President Trump and some of his policy ideals, we simply don't agree. I don't agree with him. And not only do I not agree with his policies, I think the man is a nut. That's just my personal opinion. I wouldn't follow him to the bathroom. But that's just me. But at the same time, I felt the same way about Joe Biden. I don't agree with Joe Biden's policies. I thought he's to the right of me. As I said in some of my other videos, I would be to the left of both of these candidates. And now with Kamala Harris in there, who the hell knows what Kamala Harris believes? Because when I saw her debate a couple of years ago when she ran for president, she was flip-flopping on issues every other day. Whatever the opinion she took today, if it didn't poll right, she was switching position to try to make herself adjust to whatever the polls were or whatever the Democratic Party said her position should be. So for me, she's just a bobblehead. She's not a person that's worthy enough to lead me anywhere. Neither one of them. Or all 3 of them. As the brother from Louisiana said, all 3 of you. None of them can lead me. All right, so there's nothing to argue about. There's nothing to fight over. And to see my own friends fall out over these issues is baffling for me, especially at our age. We're too mature for that. Again, the great Nabi, the great prophet said, avoid these disputations with one another. In fact, in his life, whenever people would argue around him, he would give them just a little play to try to work it out. But if he saw it wasn't working out, they said our Prophet Muhammad would show you through his body language and his facial expressions that he wasn't feeling these arguments. He wasn't feeling it. He was disappointed that the people would continue to go back and forth. And if people became angry, and he saw that now the egos are into this thing. Now I've got to the point now, you don't mess with me, my ego into it. Then they said the Prophet Muhammad, then at that point, he would just get up and leave. And once one of his greatest disciples asked him, Ya Rasulullah, oh Messenger of Allah, what happened? I'm sorry I ran you off. I think my behavior, something I said, you didn't like it. And you left our little halakha. You left our little session here. What did I say? What did I do? And the Prophet, on him be peace, said, as you went back and forth with this man, everything initially was all right. And then your egos got involved and you started to name call and you started to say things that weren't good. And at that point, the Malaika, the angels, he said, I could see the angels leaving our little halakha, our little group, our little jamaat, right? The area that we're in. I could just see the angels flying away. All right. So this is the way the prophet taught one of his greatest disciples. Look, man, I don't care for that. Nor does Allah care for that. All right. So as we start to go through this political season, because it's getting ready to get hot, brothers and sisters, it's going to get hot. We have to learn how to control ourselves and say what we need to say and let it be that. I said before on this channel, I have gotten to the point in my life where I will no longer argue with anybody. I don't argue about points. I don't argue about anything. I don't argue about philosophy. Everything I do now, I try to bring it to the numbers. I look for facts. What statistically does facts say about this issue? If I can find it. If it's not so philosophical, that I can't, you can't weigh it against facts. But anything that I can bring down to statistics or facts, that's what I try to do the best I can. And if the person that I'm dealing with or talking to, if they don't accept those statistics or if they don't accept the preponderance, I can say, of the evidence, right? If they're not going to accept that because they have their own experiences with an issue or they're dealing with the issue anecdotally, it's what they've only seen. It's wherever they've been in their lives, wherever Allah or God put them in their lives, they can only see it one way. Then at that point, there's no argument for me because I realize, oh, this is anecdotal. This is what he is saying he understands, or she is saying that she understands. I'll give you an example. One of my dear friends, she's a single black mother. And when I say things about single black mothers or single mothers in America, period, and I talk about how the prison systems are being filled up with the young men who come from single black mother households or single mother households, I could tell that it irritates her, and not only her, some of my other black female friends as well. They get really irritated by it and they feel like you're attacking them. And I have to always tell her, this one in particular, hey, I'm not attacking you. I'm only telling you what the statistics are showing us. They're showing us that it's these boys that come from those households that are giving us issues. And anecdotally, from how I see it as a black man who stayed with his wife and raised his children, I understand that where I put my children, it took 2 to do that. It was very difficult. I have 5 children, and it was very difficult to raise those 5 children. 3 of them boys, 2 girls. It's not easy. If I had to do that on my own, I don't know if I would have gotten the same result. And I know for a fact, because statistics bear it out, that if my wife had to do it on her own, it would have been a disaster, especially with those boys. Oh my God, my boys? Without me in the house, it would have been a disaster for her, right? So anecdotally for her, she says, well, I see from my friends and some of my family members who are single black moms or single moms, their kids came out all right. And they're on par with what it is that 2-parent homes have done. Their kids are accomplishing the same things. And I have to agree with her. Okay, I can't go against what it is that you've experienced. I can't go against what you're saying anecdotally, what Allah brought to you in your small circle of people. But that's not the reality nationwide, because we have stats that bear out what happens to black boys and what happens to boys when they don't have their fathers. They end up in bad situations. They end up in these jails, or they end up as humps in the ground in those graveyards. All right, that's what the stats tell us. Now, with that said, I don't argue. So if someone has their own anecdotes that they want to roll with, or they have their own experiences, I've learned, don't argue with them. Allow them to have that and leave it right there. That's it. She has an opinion. I have my opinion. There's nothing to argue about here. I've learned for myself that if I have an anecdotal situation going on in my head, or I have a frame of reference that I can't get out of because of how I was raised, or how Allah put me in my little bubble on this planet, what I try to do is then look outside of myself to see statistically what do we have as proof one way or the other. That's what I've learned to do. And in my life, I've learned that it's better to go with a preponderance of the evidence. So wherever the evidence says, this is what we have here, this is the data we have, and the data says this, then I've taught myself now to learn how to accept that even when it goes against my own understanding of things. Even if the data goes against what it is that I understood or believed, then I try to make the adjustment. And that took some time to do. What that means is we have to go back to bringing down the old ego, right? That's what it's about. You have to learn how to chop down your ego and learn how to accept things as they are, not as we want them to be. Okay? So this is what came to me today as I thought about my friends and people who are telling me now that they're losing friends. And I just think that's so sad. And I begged one of my friends, I said, hey, you have to go back to your friend. You have to try to make things right, because you don't want to lose a good guy like him. He talked about this man for years and talked about how good this man has been to him and his family. And I told him, you don't want to lose friends like that. You keep friends like that. Now, if you have to back up off of him for a season, do this political season, no, of course you can do that, because we're grown people. And if he's a real friend, he would realize that just because you backed up off of him for a little while because you don't feel like getting into these disputations about these politics, then he should understand that. If he's a real friend, then he will give you that. Now, if he's not a real friend, then of course, this is a problem solved for you, and God just plucked somebody out of your universe that you don't need to be in it, because all that person's going to do is give you hell anyway on some other issue, and you'll find out later on anyway that that person's not a real friend. But if that person is a real friend, then of course they'll give you all the leeway you need to believe what you want or huff and puff for a while, and then when things calm down, then you try to make up. That's it. That's what the movement people do. That's what the believing people do. That's what the intelligent people do, right? So you give your friends some leeway, and you don't hanker after them or bother them when they want that separation. Allow separation, and then go back to your friend and do what friends do, right? Be friends, okay? So that's my issue. Please, we have to learn how to be. We have to learn how, as Dr. King said, learn how to be able to disagree without being disagreeable. We don't have to hurt one another, harm one another, break off our friendships, and don't want the wives to talk to one another. We don't have to do any of that. We have to learn that, hey man, I just totally disagree with you on this position. I totally disagree with you on your politics. However, we don't have to be disagreeable, man. You don't have to worry about my tongue or my hands harming you. When it comes to you and I, we have a relationship that's good, solid, and you will have no harm from me. Okay? You're good. All right, so that's my message for today. I pray that that resonates with us, especially during this political season where people are duking it out over these folks that I'm still like, oh my God, these folks not gonna do anything for us. They bought and paid for it. These are rich people's little sycophants, right? These are puppets for the rich. They're not gonna do anything for us. So I laugh at how serious people get about these politics, right? So, but that's my opinion again. And don't be mad with me for my opinion. That's how I feel about it. All right. If you feel like you need to have a hand on the steering wheel to guide this nation through these hardships and these murky times, then I say grab that steering wheel and do what you have to do. Do what you think is best to get us through these difficult times. That's my message. I pray everybody's well. I love you. If you like the message, please like it. And if you have not already, please subscribe to my channel. Y'all take care out there, okay? Peace.